Hi, this is Dr. Joel, and today is the number 3 of the great medical breakthroughs of recent years. Is as I mentioned the other day, 50 years ago when I was on the faculty at Baylor College of Medicine in Eustis, Texas, the metabolic syndrome did not exist as we know it today. And it was a brilliant, brilliant discovery from Stanford Medical School by the head of endocrinology, Dr. Raven. And what he noticed was that a linkage in adult people, both men and women, and the linkage is if you have, let's say, high blood pressure, chances are you'll be overweight, a tendency to cardiovascular disease, a tendency for stroke, insulin resistance, and diabetes. And Dr. Raven, who was the head of the endocrinology, which is hormones, he was very perplexed. So he put in the medical literature syndrome X, meaning it's a linkage, it's a syndrome, but he didn't know the root cause. And a couple of years later, he worked it out. Utterly brilliant. And now he changed the name to metabolic syndrome, meaning that the common denominator from all these disparate symptoms is high insulin levels. So he called it hyper, high, insulin, emia, that means the blood, too much insulin in the blood. And let's dovetail to our basic 3 food groups that we all know: protein, carbs, and fats. And if you have fats, there is hardly any insulin response. If you have protein, the insulin response is very slight. But if you have refined carbs, the insulin response is sky high. So let's talk about that for 1 second, because in the previous 2 sessions, we spoke about carbs and fiber. So let's make life easy, okay? There's 2 types of carbohydrates. One is the ones that you'll get in vegetables and fruits. Those are the good ones because they come in a protected way. Mother Nature gave us the protection of the soluble and insoluble fiber. So even though there's carbs there, they're absorbed very, very, very slowly because the fiber slows everything down. Whereas the highly refined carbs, we all know what those are, is your breads and cakes and pasta and Danish and all sorts of refined carbs there, they come without Mother Nature's protection, which is the soluble and insoluble fiber. And just as a little sidebar, our last 2 sessions emphasized that our 50 trillion employees, the newly discovered microbiome, what is their food? It's the soluble fiber, and when you give them that, they will crank out so many good chemicals for your brain, psychobiome, and to heal the leaky gut. So you could have carbs, but it's the form in which you have them. So please have your vegetables and your fruits intact. So for example, a whole apple is infinitely better than just refined apple juice. And a whole apple is infinitely better than, let's say, a highly sugared apple pie. And the final thing, just to, again, make life easy, is let's say you go to a nice buffet. You could have all sorts of good things: beef, chicken, fish, products from an animal, eggs, yogurt. You could have any kind of vegetable. You could have any kind of fruit. You could have any kind of tree nuts or nut butter. But notice what was absent from that: large amounts of highly refined carbohydrates. So thank you so much, and we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow in our next session.